What's up, guys? I am going to take you through a Criterium race and give you a bunch of points and tips that will help you perform better in your next crit, in your next group ride, in your next road race. Whatever it is, these tips and pointers that I'm about to give out will help across the board in every dimension of your cycling for sure. So check these out. I'm gonna break them down into bit by bit. You know, I have a bad tendency of kind of just blah, going through every single thing you can do in order. So what I'm gonna do is just break down each concept, show you the video, speak over it, and hopefully you can learn something. So check it out. All right, we're going to start this off by looking at the beginning of the race. Now, so when you line up, is very important. If you can get the front line, this is super, super key, mainly because you're going to avoid people missing their pedal, getting in your way, holding you back. In any of these races, positioning is everything. So taking it from the start really begins with good position on the start line. Now, if you're in a pro race, you're going to get called up, right? Most likely. It's important. Local races with smaller fields, not as important, but still I recommend, being on the front of the start line. So here we're positioned in the middle of the group, and I personally would recommend picking a side. So looking ahead on this course, we see that there's a right turn beginning. The first corner is a right turn on the top of this climb. So if I was lining up, I would select my position basically like I'm going for the whole shot. So all the way on the right side of this field, all on one side, and on the side that we're going to turn to. So we're going to start this off and see what happens. Here we are getting ready for the gun. The gun goes off. People get in their pedals, and you can see already. Now I'm going to hit pause real quick. Now you can see already what happened here is exactly what I was talking about. Homie right here on the right side misses his pedal, holds us up. You can see that we're already losing ground here. So this is just like one match already. I hate to use the word match, but one effort used for no reason at all already. You can see that the whole group is pushing to that right side. So had we been in position on that right side, on the front, we would have been able to get right up in here. So we're going to see this. Now we go around, we're sprinting. And the next thing I want to talk about here is the beginnings of these races are the most important for two reasons. And this is what I want you guys to take out of this. The first reason is the beginning of the race. You really, really get to see the flow of how the course is going to work with the riders. So, you don't know how this peloton is going to react when you pre-ride the course. You don't know how strong everyone is. You don't really know what's going to happen with the wind. So the first couple laps, really are important for you to be at the front to really watch what's happening. Now, you see a lot of experienced riders, sometimes they drift to the back and they hang out. They probably a lot of times already know, but if it was a top race with all experienced riders, they do the same thing. They'd be at the front. So don't look at those people as they're doing the right thing. They're just being kind of lazy. So next thing you want to look at is what teams, what riders are doing what in the race. Okay, so we're gonna hit this and we're gonna see. We're moving up now after the start, and we're seeing some of these red jerseys, these BJC riders heading to the front. Looks like there's 4 of them already in the front. You can see you missed it off the corner there because we're a little bit too far back, but you can see that a rider attacked from the right side of the road, okay? So this position that we're in right now is easier pedaling, but it's not ideal because there was a rider that attacked. We were unable to see that rider. Okay, so would have been good had we been further up, so we could see that rider. And then also, like I mentioned, we're looking at the course. We're looking to see what teams are doing what. We can't see that here, so I'm just going to take you guys back in time here. Okay, and we're going to go back to the start. And so what I would have done is right here, you can see this is blocked. We're not going to be able to go here, but you can see this beautiful hole. And I'll draw this hole here with this pointer. See this hole right here? We'd go from here all the way out where this homie is right here, up and around, and get out front, okay? Now, if we don't need to cover this attack that goes, okay, if that attack's not important, then, we're going to be fine. But at least we'll be there. And in this case, unfortunately, we are too far back, okay? Now, it's easy, it's conserving, but like I mentioned, the beginning of these races are very, very important. You don't know what's going to happen. And, a winning move in a lot of the other categories on this day, there was a breakaway that won, and it went from the beginning, including the pro race. So you got to be there. You got to be up front. So we would have shot over with this guy, got out front, and moved ahead, okay? So now, let's just watch this first lap. We just look for these little transitions where the road goes from steeper to shallow, and you'll start to see that there's this natural progression of the riders, how as soon as it goes from the climb to the downhill, like we're seeing coming up here, you're going to see riders push on both sides. They're going to flow forward. So really take notes of those, because those are excellent areas for you personally to move up. So see where we are here now. We're about to come up on one of those areas. See how the road goes down. We stay on this wheel right here. And now these riders should move all the way to the front now. Okay, see it forward there. It dips down a little bit. So we're going to use this to move up. We're going to take that little burst. And see, these guys are kind of not moving up, which is not really a good move. The rider the bike that we're on right here, now it would be the time. See where we're at here. Now would be the time to move up. Instead, we're just sitting in the wind here, taking a lot of wind, not doing anything. But this moment, you can see this clear path. You would move all the way up to the front at that moment. So looking for those surfs and surges, those are going to be key. Now we go into the chicanes here. So we're going to know that we're going to want to be in position here. You want to be on the inside of every turn. Here we're on the outside of the first turn. Big no-no. And you can see what just happened right there. We just got whacked straight out of there. That's because we were on the outside. We just lost 20 positions for no reason at all there. So we want to position on the inside of that first corner. So like when we go back, we would have moved up. We would have been on the right side, moved up on the left, moved over to the right, and then entered these first corners. What do you do when you're in a chicane like this? Well, when you're in the front, it's single file after that first corner. So you're going to be able to go wide and cut to the inside. So here we are looking at this. You can see the chicane section, not very good idea to be back here. Very dangerous with riders going all over the place. We're still not taking corners. We want to be on the inside position. And now we're at the back of the group. Where, this is the smoking section. Nothing good back here happens. We're moving up. This is not really a great place to move up. How we're moving up right now, because we're burning a lot of efforts. You can see everyone here is coasting on the right side. Where I mentioned earlier, that would have been the time to move up where there's little surfs. Okay, so this rider is a really strong rider. The bike camera that we're on. But, we're moving up here. We're in position now, so he's in a good position now. We've moved up to a good position, and now we're finishing that last lap. So basically, I'm going to pause this, and what we saw from the first lap, we can take a lot, understanding the race opening. And I'm going to call this a race opening, because in races, you have three parts. So today we're going to talk about the opening, the flow, and the close. Opening really defines a race, and that's what we were looking at. Where are the places to move up? Where are the places that the peloton gets rowdy? And we saw that before the chicane. We saw a couple of those surfs on the climb. Those are the areas in there that we saw in the race opening there that are going to be important to move up and be in front for. What we couldn't see, and that I could tell you about, is these BJC riders. They got on the front from the start and started riding a hard pace and rode every single breakaway back. Okay, so what that means is the riders on that particular team are very interested in just having a hard race. And I don't know if their team director or whatever said, okay, guys, we've got a sprinter, we're going to keep this thing together. But because the riders are more interested in going on the front and riding a hard pace rather than attacking and covering or counterattacking or covering moves, shows that that team is very interested in a sprint finish. So you can almost kind of play off that team. You see in the beginning, they started riding from the start. So important thing to note. All right. Now, if you saw that team covering attacks, attacking, whatever, then you could say, okay, I really need all hands on deck in the breaks. It looks like that team is going to try to go in a breakaway, but instead they're all riding on the front. So important there to look at that. So, but overall, what we saw in the first lap, we saw places to move up. We saw where the flow comes from. We learned on positioning, on how to start. And now let's move forward into the flow, where we can work on some of the details around what to do in the middle towards the end of the race. All right, so now we are going to go into the flow of the race. So we got the opening. We realized that the BJC riders are very interested in being in control of the race. So we're going to look for them. They're in the red jerseys here. We're going to watch this team. We're going to follow their moves. And we are going to stay in the front, which is important. We're going to take the corners on the inside. And now I'm going to go into the details. What else I would like, or what else that is good for you to do in these to ride a Criterium really well. So we talked about earlier taking the corners on the inside. I just found this good clip here. I want to show you what happens when you do set up the corner. So here we go. Here's our rider. We're following. We're on board with this camera. You can see that this rider is setting up this corner on the inside. Now, if you're the first person going through the corner, you always want to go wide and cut to the inside. But if you're behind, the inside is the absolute best place. Further back in the peloton, like where we are, we're about 10th wheel or something like that, that you're not going to take the corners very fast because of all the other riders. You're not going to take beautiful lines. So because of that, you're going to have to do a little bit harder sprint out of it. But also, you do get a little bit better draft right here. So it ends up equaling itself out. But here, let's have a look real quick. We're going to dive in here and look at inside of the corner. Now you can see this rider, he goes, and so the reason why I'm showing this clip is two-part. The first one, how beneficial it is for you to be on the inside. So you can see where we are here. We can see how nice this line is. Okay, we can see everybody's wheels going out. We can see everyone's center of gravity shifting. If anyone has any problem, we're okay, all right? You can also see that this homie up front has absolutely dive bombed this turn and has taken an amazing line going wide and to the inside. So had we been a little bit further up in this peloton, which is what I would recommend, we would be with that homie right now. So watch what happens with him. Boom, off the front. Watch what happens with us. No problem though, right? Because we were in this side. You remember the earlier clips, we had so much chaos. It was crazy back there. Now we're up here. It's so relaxed. We could be sending text messages on our phone. So, the people that do crits, right? Everyone's like, it's so crazy in the crit. Well, if you're in this, I call this the Emerald Palace up here. If you're in this section that we're kind of looking at, maybe even a little bit further, it's not very hard. All right. It's safe. It is not very hard. Now, further back where we were earlier, that is absolutely sketchy. All right. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about during this race flow, okay, is you're going to have, if you don't have this early breakaway that went in the race opening, in the race flow, you're going to have all these people trying to make a break, okay? People that don't want to sprint to happen, you're going to have this constant pattern of people going off. And to deal with that, the best thing is to be at the front like we are. But the second best thing, the most important thing about being in the front is you have to react, okay? You cannot hover. So many people hover. We saw that earlier, how our rider was riding off to the side of the group, not moving up, okay? So we're using as much energy as a person pulling on the front, and we're not making any ground, okay? So in this situation, we see homie over here that attacked off the front. He's got a gap. Here we are. Now, we're well placed here in this. Now we're going to come out of this turn and we're going to slingshot up this hill. All right. So what's important is that you look for other riders moving up and you move up. You don't want to hover. This rider hovers. I'm going to show you the downside of that, okay? Here we are. BJC needs to go in this move. He knows he needs to go in this move. There he is. Here's that surf. Is he going to do it? There he is. Okay, boom. That move right there, that should have been us. We would have the wheels right there for free. You can see these riders moved up. You can see that because of that corner, we have that gap where that breakaway is now gone. We can't let this break go. All right, BJC guy, he's going. That was the team that from the beginning, from the race opening, showed us that they want to be in the race. Okay, whether they planned it or not, their brains are saying, I want to be in this race. We need to go with this BGC guy, all right? So there he goes. He's going across, and we are just sitting here, all right? Not a good plan. We want to go there with this move. Now, this move comes back, all right? But by us going there, right, over and over and over again, it puts pressure on the peloton. It keeps us in the front. And who knows, someone might just sit up, all right? Now, so these guys, they don't really do anything, okay? But still, we're too far back. We didn't cover the move, and BJC goes across to the move. Now, all these other homies here, they shut it down too. So it ended up working out okay for us, all right? But we need to cover these moves. So here's that section again that we saw in the first lap. We come over the top. We're going to have a surf. This is the next thing I want to talk to you guys about. Looking for the counterattack. When do you counterattack? All right. You counterattack, or when you cover the counterattack after there's been a move, there's been someone bridging across, or there's been someone that chases it down, and you have this place where it gets across, and then you shoot across slingshot off the peloton. All right. So here we go. This would be a great place right now for a counterattack or ready to cover the counterattack. You see how we just chased that breakdown. BJC just swung out. He's out. Now is the time, right? So these guys are chasing something down. As soon as these guys connect, right, in a second here, need to be ready to go with this counterattack. All right, it's probably coming. As soon as these guys sit up, there's gonna be a lull, and that's gonna present an opportunity. And like we saw in these corners, money. All right. So here we are, good position in the corner, excellent position. You can see we even overtook a rider because we were in the middle, and now we have a move off the front, just like this guy off the front. All right. This would be our opportunity right now to bridge across, okay? Here we go, just like we're talking about, all the way across to this rider. And there you go. That's the counterattack, and that's how that's done. Would have been better if we were a little bit more attentive and we were on that move straight away, because this gap that's being chased down, we would not be doing that. We'd already be on that person's wheel. But you guys can see in the race flow, when there are active riders, which are going to be most of your races, you always want to be on front and jumping with each move and each counterattack move. All right, always in the front, always shuffling and moving with the riders that are forward, and they're being super aggressive and being on the front. All right, looks like we have a little breakaway here, which is exciting. We can see this is an excellent 2-up breakaway right now. You can see in the rear view camera. Boom. And the way we found this move was looking for that counterattack. So really good job by the rider on this camera to find that. Really cool that these guys got away. But remember, we were talking about the red jerseys of the BJC. They're not here. So when you're in this move, you got to be kind of thinking, oh, not one of the teams, that's really interested in this move. So when you're up here, you don't want to go all in because those guys are going to be chasing from behind, but maybe waiting for one of them to come across. All right. But anyway, good move here by our rider to get in this 2-up break and super excited about that. And now let's talk about some more details in the race flow. All right, the next thing we want to talk to you guys about in the race flow is how do you find the grid places where people to cover the counterattacks. So what I recommend is looking at the sections of the courses that you identified in the beginning of the race, that the peloton just naturally flows from the back to the front. So on this course, it was the downhill into the uphill. And then on the uphill here, there's these little surfs there. So really those two locations are the only locations you really need to be ready for those counterattacks, and then in position or attacks, and then in position for those turns on the downhill. All right, so here we are coming to the top of the hill. What's important is you pick one side of the road that you're on, because that way you know that the counterattacks can only come from one side. Unfortunately, we're in the middle here, which isn't really a good spot, and I'm going to show you guys why that is. Boom, there's a counterattack. There's an attack, two guys, and we can't do anything about it because they jump from behind. So better to be, you can see the rear view camera here. See, we're a little bit too far forward on this section. So every time you come up to those sections that we identified on that race opening with the laps, where you see that the peloton just naturally flows up and around the riders in the front, we want to position ourselves back a little bit. So when we come into those areas, the front riders hit it, they slow down, and we just follow those wheels around as they just slingshot it, and then we're there. If someone attacks, we go with it. If someone doesn't attack, we just flow back around and then find that next section. What's also cool about this technique too is that when you're following the flow forward, it's generally going to always put you in the position either in the winning move or, in this case, at the top of the climb for the corner. So this homie here is shutting it down. And as we know, right, like, you know, we want to be, we shouldn't, and I don't think this was a good move here to chase this down. If you miss the move, you miss the move. In this situation, we were right there. Those guys jumped around us. So would avoid that. Maybe just, if you get stuck in this situation, just up and off. You know, this is one thing I'm always working with my athletes on, is like, don't miss the move. And if you miss the move, like, don't sit up here and chase this down. So here we are just burning energy when we could have just been a little bit further back. We knew the counterattack or the attack was going to go there. And then in this case too, when we're chasing in the race flow, like in this case, up and off, and don't go to second wheel, because as soon as this guy's done, guess who's pulling, right? So we want to move up for these turns, but we don't need to be this far like this. And doing these big efforts. And now it's our responsibility to bring those two riders back, which we could have easily covered had we were ready for that slingshot effect that we know happens every single lap. All right. So that was the big detail I wanted to share with you guys on that section of the race flow. Just figure out where on the course the natural slingshots are. Be ready to go with the attacks and counterattacks on those. The last thing is, if you do miss it, don't chase it back, right? You can do one pull up and off, but don't fight to be up in this area, this chasing group, because too much work. You're on your own team, own person there, you know, nothing you can do. You miss a move. All right, go back and look for these other teams. As we know from their opening BJC, here they are, very aggressive in this race. Leave it to them, right? They rode the front on the first lap. Obviously, they're very hungry for the race, so don't pass them here. Stay behind them, and so this is another mistake we made. Let the BJC guys in front. They're going to chase it down, or they're going to bridge across, and you want to be on their wheel. So when it happened, like now, right here we are. These guys should be going forward, and they're not. I'm not sure what the BJC guys are not there. I don't know why they didn't close that move. I don't think that was super smart. So let's just watch that section that we saw earlier. We saw the part of the climb, 3 BJCs to the front, and see here it is, right? Like here's the so here they are. And now they're deciding to chase, which is what we did, what we called, which is goes back and supports our argument. We were talking about 4 BJCs on the front. But this easily could have been avoided had one of them covered that move, or in that case, when the guy in the black skin suit just passed in front of their nose, all they would have had to do is put a person on that wheel and chase it down. All right, so that's the race flow for you. All right, so now we're going to go into the last part of the race close in a criterium scenario where there's no breakaway, where one dominant team, BJC in this case, is very motivated for it to be a sprint finish. From what we've seen, they haven't attacked, they haven't really covered any moves, they just chase things down altogether. We are going to now look and see how to perform in the race close. So it's going to be a sprint. We're on the last lap. We've gone over the last climb. BJC rode a really hard tempo, so there was no attacks. And so now our rider, the bike camera that we're on now, is going into the final downhill, final corners. So from what we know, and from what we know from the race opening, where the flow is into that finish line, that is the area where a lot of the breakaways and counterattacks win. We know that you have to be further back so you can get that slingshot. We also know that the first turn is a right turn. The last turn is a right turn. We need to be on the inside of those turns, and then we need to go from the shortest distance from that turn to the finish line. So if it's a right turn, we need to exit that right turn and go straight on the inside all the way up to the finish line. All right, so with that said, we're gonna watch the final here. We're gonna have a look and see BJC. We're already in the wrong position because we're sort of splitting the BJC sandwich here. We can see 3 or 4 of them behind us, one guy on the front. This is a very dangerous position here to be because we're gonna be left out to dry. As soon as this lead out guy is done, he's in the way, and we're going to get slingshot is so bad from the people behind. We're going to get smoked. So too far forward, we're getting a lot of wind here. You can see in the back, the peloton is nicely placed. We're a little bit too far forward for sure. And you can see this rider, he's already been pulling a long time. He's doing the lead out. It's strung out, so he's going hard. Mad respect to this rider. But us who are trying to win this criterium, we're a little bit too far forward. So that best case scenario here would be at the top of that climb when you first entered into the downhill, just open up the door a little bit. Let 2 or 3 other BJC riders on the inside. So here we are coming up to the last corner. Here's our mistake right here, okay? We waited on that rider's wheel, okay? And we didn't go further behind. And now we have these riders that are now slingshotting us first from the outside. But remember, protect the inside. So in this case, even if we did screw this up, we got to stay inside. And here is our mistake. So here we go. We're on this guy's wheel. He goes around us, slingshots us, which is gnarly. But check this out. We slide outside, okay? And I'm not sure why this happened, but big no-no, right? Because he's taking a more direct line. He took more momentum coming around us out of the draft, and now we're opening the door for people everywhere to pass us. Sprinting is all about positioning. It doesn't matter how many watts you have. You can't take the longest way to the finish line. So not only are we taking the longest way, but we're also, and you remember this, like when you slingshot your buddies in a pace line, we're slingshotting all the sprinters around us. So here we go, drifting to the outside, and there they all are. Boom! There's the finish line. We have gone now further than we could have gone. We've pushed ourselves all the way to the wrong side of the road. Homie who was behind us has a 3-person gap on us, and this rider right here that just came off our wheel, look at that person. There they are. This is the winner. I think this is 3rd place, 4th place. I think this rider ends up 6th. But anyway, you can see how we went wide. We opened the door. The winning riders came right off our wheel. This is the winner and look where they are on the road. So simple, right? Not even in the same area code as us, right? Because we've gone another 50 feet further, all of these riders, right? So, hindsight's 2020, but we can see here in the race close, it's really all about timing. It's really all about positioning and understanding the key places of how to do that. But good race. Hope you guys understand, got something from this. And there was an F-bomb. That's why it says not my F-bomb. Somebody said an F-bomb. People get upset and finish this. All right. So I hope you guys got some good information from that. Lots of cool details in that race analysis. And just remember, break every race into a race open, race flow, race close. Open, you got to see do you get in the breakaway? Does a breakaway go? If not, the flow is going to be about people keep attacking. If you do get in a breakaway, the flow is going to be trying to keep that breakaway out there. If you're not in that breakaway, the flow is then going to be the peloton behind riding a pace to either keep that breakaway in check or try to bring it back. And in the race close, if you're in the breakaway, you're either trying to attack it or wait for the sprint. If there's no breakaway, it's just like we showed, you're getting in position for the sprint, and you're trying to figure out the best line. And based on what we found out on the opening, what the key riders are, and where the parts of the course are that naturally promote those accelerations and those changes in position from the peloton coming from behind. All right. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's go all in and crush it.